Welcome back to episode 6 of the Goose Goes South. This leg is from Charleston to Savannah. We sure got a warm welcome at Safe Harbor Charleston City, and we were psyched to be back on their famed mega yacht dock, which seems like 10 miles long and you need a motorbike to get from one end to the other. And we sure weren't a mega yacht, we were more like a tender, but great to be there. Charleston has a lot of history and great restaurants. We can't wait to revisit it again on the journey north. We were very fortunate to have our friend Avery show us beautiful Sullivan's Island. Well, we just left Charleston and the Safe Harbor Charleston City Marina where I was there for 5 days. And now we're going down the Waipu Creek. 3 knots of current here, so I'm only doing 3.8 over the bottom and heading over onto the Stono River. Back on the road again, and the familiar red on the right and green on the left markings of the ICW. It was very quiet. Most of the traffic had already gone south, so we had the place to ourselves. Our next stop was Bennett's Point and Mosquito Creek. This had been recommended to us as being a nice, peaceful, quiet, out-of-the-way anchorage. Well, here we are on the Mosquito River. We got a pound of shrimp for $9. You can't even buy newspaper for that. And what a great place. It's beautiful here. It's quiet. No sunshine, but it's very cool. Peaceful.
Happy Thanksgiving from the Goose.
Hello.
In South Carolina.
Happy Turkey Day. We're at Bennett's Point, which is a little small, itty-bitty little fishing town here in the boonies of South Carolina. We had shrimp last night. We bought local shrimp and Tenley cooked it up. We had a feast. Adios. There was no sun when we arrived, but the next morning I awoke to a beautiful sunrise, and here's a couple of pictures of the local area. Turkey vultures circling around the top of us, plus a lone ibis off to the feeding grounds. It was time to hoist the anchor and head on out and down the Mosquito Creek. Luckily we didn't experience any mosquitoes. Tide was high, so we had it with us, and what a beautiful, peaceful place to spend the night on the hook. Our next stop was Safe Harbor Port Royal in Beaufort, South Carolina. I'll tell you one thing you learn to deal with when you do the ICW in these parts of North and South Carolina is current. Docking and getting onto the fuel dock and so on. You learn to maneuver when at times there's 3 knots of current. Here we are in Beaufort, South Carolina after a few days of miserable rain and gray. Sun's out and we're exploring the point section of Beaufort, the old colonial homes, and of course they're looking over the marsh and the intercoastal. We met Pat and Mike on the dock in Beaufort, and Pat immediately suggested she show us the historical scenes and some beautiful sights to photograph in Beaufort. It worked out perfectly. Robert Smalls was born into slavery, freed himself and his crew and their families during the Civil War by commandeering a Confederate ship in Charleston Harbor, and became a politician in Beaufort. 2 northern white women came to assist the freed blacks in the area to establish the Penn School here in 1862. And here you see the Chapel of Ease, built in 1740 before the Revolutionary War. This is the Hunting Island Lighthouse, built in 1859 and guided boats between Charleston and Savannah. Back on the road again, and the chief mate takes a break. Our next port of call was Bluffton, and we decided for the first time to put the folding bikes into the dink and see how that pans out. Well, it was perfect. We tied up to the dinghy dock at the Municipal Pier in Bluffton and explored the town. What a great town. We decided to have dinner at Toomer's Bluffton Seafood House. It came highly recommended, and what a great place. Such a unique way of eating oysters and all the other stuff that lives on the bottom of the ocean. The next morning we were off to Bull Creek, a little ways down the pike, and of course the beautiful scenes of the ICW and the guys who know how to power their boats when they went out duck hunting. Man, these guys must have been doing 60 miles an hour. A unique shot of a bald eagle flying with a bunch of grass making up its nest. And then of course the gulls followed us for ages, loving all the water we were churning up and all the food that was coming up to the surface. They were with us for hours. We finally came to the turnoff for our creek, and in the distance loomed a bit of a squall with some wind and rain, but nothing to worry about. It was nice to chug along and hunker down in the wheelhouse. It didn't take long for the squall to pass us by. In the meantime, we dropped the anchor, the sun came out, and it was time for a dinghy ride. It's always fun to take the dink and go up the creek and see what one can find.
This looks like my meal last night at Bluffton Seafood House. I asked for steamed oysters, and they came in clumps like this, and they were absolutely delicious. You had to pry them open and get these puffy little steamed oysters out. And it certainly doesn't look like there's a shortage here. There's oyster shells all over the beach.
Well, as you can see, the breeze kicked up and the ride back wasn't as smooth as the ride going up the creek. Whatever, we put the hammer down. It was fun and games. So we're on our way to Savannah. We are 10 miles from Savannah. We're going to tie the boat up for a month, for the month of December. We're going to do some travel at home and Christmas holidays, and I'm going to sort of take a break, get some editing caught up, so I'll show you more about what we've been doing in the videos. But yeah, it's sort of bittersweet. You know, I've had a fantastic 54 days on the boat, really love it. And we've come a long way. We're 2/3 of the way down there to Florida. So, any case, we'll see you in Savannah. Well, here we are at Safe Harbor Bahia Blue in Thunderbolt, Georgia. Just a 15-minute ride from downtown Savannah. And it was kind of sad to say goodbye, but I knew that Snow Goose was in a safe spot and should be taken care of here by the Safe Harbor guys. Stay in touch and keep an eye out on our YouTube channel when we continue our journey south in January of 2023.